Eric Young. What is going on right now with Eric Young and Impact Wrestling? Well, the quick answer there is a lot going on with Eric Young in Impact Wrestling right now. So this past Tuesday on Impact Wrestling, Eric Young made his return to the program after he made his shocking return to the company at Slammiversary this past weekend. But he made his return to Impact Wrestling this past week by interrupting the brand new Impact World Champion Eddie Edwards whilst the new champion was cutting an in-ring promo. Eric Young has been doing this. It's a very unique character. It's very interesting. It's very interesting because previously, everyone kind of knew that Eric Young was coming back to Impact Wrestling, and the reason as to why is obviously his history with Impact Wrestling was kind of a given. It's where he's made his name, his career. He's a former TNA World Heavyweight Champion. He's done it all Impact Wrestling. He's been comedic, serious, part of a group, part of a faction, part of a tag team. Numerous times over. Eric Young is Impact Wrestling. He is synonymous with that. It's why everyone knows who Eric Young is. So everyone knew he was coming back, but also Impact Wrestling did a few teasers. One teasing that Super Eric might be returning to Impact Wrestling. That was Eric Young's alter ego in about 2008, sort of a superhero blue blazer style gimmick. They had a promo where someone was reaching for a mask and a cape backstage. And in addition to that, you had Johnny Swinger backstage on Impact looking for a suicide outfit, and he found the Super Eric old outfit as well. So people thought, okay, is a Super Eric version of Eric Young returning to Impact Wrestling, and that really isn't the case. Eric Young has this crazy man, sort of god complex, Impact Wrestling belongs to me, everything belongs to me kind of characters. It really does fit the mold of someone that's just been released by WWE and has been held hostage by WWE for such a long time that he's a crazed madman and he controls everything in Impact Wrestling, which led to a brawl this past week between EY and the current Impact World Champion Eddie Edwards. So a lot of people speculating now, rightfully so, that this is going to be leading to a showdown at some point in the future. Could we be seeing an Eddie Edwards versus Eric Young Impact World Championship match in the near future? I believe so. We saw this week on Impact Wrestling that Eddie Edwards has announced that he'll be doing a weekly open challenge as the Impact World Champion, which is obviously... There's quite a few of those open challenges going around at the moment, whether it's on AEW Dynamite with Cody and the TNT Championship. We obviously famously saw John Cena do it with the United States Championship on WWE back in 2015. And we're going to see a similar version here. Am I massively thrilled that they're doing that with the World Championship? Maybe not. Feel like they should save that. I would prefer them to do it with something like the X Division Championship. Considering there are no limits to that, it doesn't matter who comes in and who doesn't come in. So that's that would be the division that I prefer to do it with. But they're doing it with Eddie Edwards. He's having it as being the fighting champion. He's the heart and soul of Impact Wrestling. That's what he's doing. But he said that even though he's doing this open challenge and anyone and all comers can challenge for the Impact World Championship, he is not offering an opportunity to Eric Young. This is because Eric Young is a scumbag and injured Rich Swann at the weekend at Slammiversary. So for those not aware, of course, at Slammiversary, when Eric Young made his return to the company and interjected himself into the main event, the Impact World Championship main event, prior to that, Rich Swann was revealed as the mystery competitor in the then Fatal 4-Way match for the vacant Impact World Championship. Rich Swann had been out of action for until last year, so about 7 or 8 months, with a serious leg injury, an ankle or leg injury. He'd had 2 surgeries on it, plates in his leg, screws in his leg. At some point they were worried if he was ever going to compete or even wrestle again. So this was a big moment for Rich Swann to get back in the ring and return to Impact Wrestling. And what happened in the match? Rich Swann shockingly eliminated Eric Young, and the crazed madman that he is, he went ballistic. He went crazy, and he attacked Rich Swann several times, attacked the surgically repaired leg. He smashed it with a steel chair, smashed the steel chair against the steel ring post with Rich Swann's ankle in between it, a sort of a Rich Swann ankle sandwich there, and absolutely smashed his ankle once again to smithereens. I've mentioned my thoughts on that angle at Slammiversary. I thought the angle between Rich Swann and Eric Young, I thought it was great. I thought it was really, really good, really well done. And I'll be brutally honest here. When Eric Young was revealed as, okay, this is the sort of outside guy that's the surprise entrant, because Rich Swann was the mystery guy, but then it was revealed that Eric Young was the outside guy of, returning to Impact Wrestling or whatever, that'd be part of this match. Was I like completely thrilled? Probably not. I was hoping it would be someone like an EC3 or maybe Zack Ryder or Mike Bennett or something like that. And maybe that is a disservice, I would say, to Eric Young, because of all of he's done in Impact Wrestling, and he's got a great history of TNA wrestling. I just think that the WWE just beat this guy's reputation and down so much that people almost weren't looking forward to seeing Eric Young because they hadn't seen him at all. This isn't a case of like an EC3 where, yeah, we hadn't seen EC3 at all, I guess, but for such a long time, Eric Young, out of all of these guys, did nothing for ages. The moment he went from NXT to Raw or SmackDown, he disappeared. I mean, he might have made a handful of appearances, and then the rest were on main event, which no one watches anyway. So it was surprising, but I was proved absolutely wrong in this Slammiversary main event because Eric Young, for me, in that match, stole the show. His angle with Rich Swann was just fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. He sold the Crazed Madman brilliantly. He'd actually got a cut over his eye, so he was covered in blood, which just made it 10 times better. And then credit to Rich Swann as well. He sold the hell out of that ankle injury, smacking the mat, crying. Don Callis on commentary was saying he's come back from all of this, fought his way back from all of this, a career-threatening injury. He gets back into the main event of Slammiversary, one of the biggest events for the year, for the Impact World Championship, the pinnacle of our company, and it's ruined, it's taken away by someone like Eric Young just because he was eliminated. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant, and it certainly turned my head, opened my eyes, and I'm fascinated now with this Eric Young character once again. He's spoken about falling back in love with professional wrestling, and I've fallen in love with this angle. I think it's superb. Now, of course, Eddie Edwards has said that Eric Young isn't going to get an Impact World Championship opportunity. Of course, we know that isn't the case. Eric Young will at some point receive an Impact Wrestling World Championship opportunity. Do I think he'll beat Eddie Edwards? I don't think so. Because Eddie Edwards, of course, has just won the championship, and he's the ultimate underdog babyface. He's the heart and soul of Impact Wrestling, right? That's what they're calling him. But look, if Eric Young continues to get over and he continues to do great segments and great angles like this was and like his segment at Slammiversary was, then maybe he'll force Impact Wrestling's hand when it comes to maybe switching the title. When that match will happen with Eric Young and Eddie Edwards, I don't know. Some people are saying Bound for Glory. That's October, and that's quite a while away right now. That's, what, three months away, maybe? And I know people say, 3 months isn't that long. 3 months is super long in professional wrestling. There's so much happened in 3 months. So maybe they will build to that then. I just think they might have a bigger match in planned by that point. We'll have to wait and see. They're not scared of changing the title on Impact Wrestling, and there's so much momentum and people watching Impact Wrestling now than there was previously that they might decide, look, we want to keep this momentum going. People are watching Impact on Access TV right now. I believe Slammiversary was the best pay-per-view numbers that they've done in a really, really long time. Their YouTube numbers are record YouTube numbers over the last few months. I think they've gained like 100,000 subscribers. Them just trending. They trended at number 1 in the United States during Slammiversary, which I haven't done in forever. They trended worldwide, which I can't even remember the last time that would ever happen with Impact Wrestling. So maybe they decide, you know what, we're gonna hot shot this. EY is gonna have that opportunity to face Eddie Edwards in, I don't know, say about a month's time. That's probably 4 or 5 weeks' time. We're going to have the world title match, and that's where you have Rich Swann return, cost Eric Young the match, and then you set up the EY versus Rich Swann match at Bound for Glory in October. That, to me, makes the most sense, and I think that's what they'll do there. But Eric Young also, he's been talking openly with the media recently, and as he looks set to revive his career with Impact Wrestling, he's spoken about his WWE run with the likes of Busted Open Radio, and has given a pretty brutal and frank opinion on the WWE system being flawed, and it's some very interesting quotes that he's mentioned here, and I'll read them out. He said, quote, "The truth is the system is broken. It's hard to get a word in. Even when you're doing nothing, it feels like you're trying to fix people's mistakes all day. There's no creativity. They want everyone to be the same, bump the same, sound the same, and there's millions of rules. Those rules change daily. It's really hard to understand what's going on. The system is flawed, and I would say that to anyone there and Vince himself. I'm not the first person he's made a mistake on, and I won't be the last person he's made a mistake on, end quote. And I see these quotes, and to me, the initial reaction there is, one, I sympathise massively for Eric Young, and he is right. He's not the first person that this has happened to, and it won't be the last person that it does happen to in WWE, unfortunately. What I get so frustrated on when I see those things and read these things that Eric Young has said is that, how many times have we heard this now when it comes to WWE, and how often are they going to do it? This is WWE's biggest problem, and I know this is an Impact Wrestling video, but I think it's important to talk about here. WWE's problem is they've become so corporate and such a big organization that it's actually starting to hinder them now almost. Because they're so big, and because they're a billion-dollar company, and because there are so many layers to what just appears on TV every week. You have to remember, back in the Attitude Era, you had one or two people writing the show, doing the creative for the show, whether that was Vince Russo, whether that was Russo and Ferrara, whether it was Russo and Cornette, or initially Bruce Pritchard, or whatever. It was one guy or a couple of guys writing the show. Now you have a team of 20 writers on the road, 20 writers at home. And yeah, you do need more writers because they have so many shows, but there is just so many layers and so much bureaucracy. That's the thing there. There is so much bureaucracy that goes on right there that you can't get anything done. It's a corporation at this point that there is no creativity there. It's very sterile. It's very, I don't know. It's not a wrestling company anymore. And that was the biggest thing they used to say with WCW, wasn't it, back in the day? Well, they're a television company that's trying to do professional wrestling. We're a professional wrestling company that does television. I don't even know what a company WWE is anymore, because it doesn't feel like they do wrestling anymore. Not professional wrestling as we know it. You watch that show at Impact Wrestling on Tuesday night. It's the same show as a WWE show put on. Obviously, the production levels are a lot lower and etc. But you can't tell me that they had 50 writers write that show, and that's what WWE does. And it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work anymore. There are weird rules. There are so many weird Vince McMahon isms that he's picked up over the years that change every week that we hear about. And Eric Young has seemingly confirmed here, whether it's you can't say strap, or you can't do this, or I remember, and this is a real tangent that I'm going off on here, but I remember last year, was it SummerSlam? It had Trish Stratus versus Charlotte Flair. And at the end of the match, Trish Stratus loses, and she goes to the corners, goes to the turnbuckles, and gives the wave to the crowd. They give her a applaud. And then I remember hearing a referee speak to her, direct to her, go to that corner now. And it was kind of like, that's Trish Stratus. She's WWE Hall of Famer, and you're instructing her, go to the turnbuckle, wave to the crowd, do this, do that. And you've heard these rumors before that everything is that micromanaged. Take a bump now. Now do this spot. Go into this. Do that spot. Go to this corner now. Go to this. Wave to the crowd here. Now look at the hard cam. Yeah, that's not even wrestling. That is literally being told exactly what to do at the exact times. I mean, what even is that? And anyone that doesn't fit into that system or fit into that mold, they're just left. They're just left. And WWE, now, they've been caught out now, finally. I wish it didn't take a pandemic to do it. But for the last few years, because of the money that WWE have been generating through the television deals and the network and all of that sort of stuff, they have been hoarding talent. And I guess the biggest farce about it is they get people through the door via NXT, right? Because NXT is different to WWE, and NXT will sign people that WWE traditionally wouldn't have. They will sign people from the independent scene and get them in, and then people go, oh, NXT is great. This isn't all those horrible rumors you heard about Vince McMahon and Raw and SmackDown. They're not true. NXT's amazing. Working under Triple H is amazing. And yet, what happens every time they get to the main roster, they start to work for Vince McMahon and the genius creative teams and the creative minds in WWE, and all of those horrible, terrible rumors that keep people hidden away from WWE, and the reason why the likes of the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega have not decided to sign with WWE in the past, they're all proved to be exactly true. And the reason that people like CM Punk left in 2014, it's still exactly the same, and probably, if not worse, at this point. And Eric Young's just proved it. He said he even spoke about his relationship with Vince McMahon as well. He said Vince McMahon was always respectful in their conversations, but he made a mistake by not putting Eric Young on television. He said, quote, anytime we were in a room together and we spoke, he was always respectful. We had two decently long conversations. They went well, and I thought he understood where I was coming from. I'm a man. I'm not going to stand in a hallway for 4 hours to talk to him. That could be wrong and stubborn on my part, but I'm a 40-year-old man, and I'm not going to wait in a hallway like a child to get maybe 5 minutes to talk to him. I said my piece. He seemed to be responsive, but nothing came from it. I don't take it personally. He made a mistake. As the leader of a company and the person that decides everything, it's a massive mistake. You have a 3-hour television show and you can't find 5 minutes for Eric Young, your show is broken. And Eric Young, is absolutely spot on. He is absolutely correct in that. How often have we been watching these Monday Night Raw episodes? Or, well, only 1.5 million live, so how often have we not been watching? But how often have, you watch the episode of Monday Night Raw and go, this is dragging, and it's the same thing every week, and you've got all these people under contract, and you can't find 5 minutes to do something positive with Eric Young. Instead, you throw him out there with no entrance for a job match. He's got no personality, gets a black mask from someone like Aleister Black, and it's done. And that's no disservice to Aleister Black at all. I'm a big fan. But, it's just, you read these comments by Eric Young, and I don't want to be one of those people that just jumps on, WWE terrible, bash WWE, all this sort of stuff. But it's true. The show is broken. The system is broken. WWE in general, as a company, is broken. They're not professional wrestling anymore. And Vince McMahon will be probably quite happy to hear me say that, if he ever heard. But you know what I mean? He'd be happy to hear that, because he doesn't consider themselves professional wrestling. But they're professional wrestling's version of Saturday Night Live. That's essentially what it is. You've got your featured player every week. You've got writers that come in and go out and make bad segments or sometimes good segments, and that's it. It's Saturday Night Live. That's what professional wrestling is nowadays. Now, it's a shame because, look, Eric Young was in TNA, Impact Wrestling, whatever, for 12 years, and he left the company in 2016, and he signed with WWE, made a debut on NXT, and was put as the leader of a group called Sanity, which of course included Nikki Cross, Alexander Wolf, and Zoya Fulton, which was later replaced by Killian Dane. And the people were excited. Finally, Eric Young's getting an opportunity in WWE. Finally, this guy has done so much in Impact Wrestling and TNA, but he's done every single kind of character. He's done, the underdog babyface, won the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, doing so in 2014. He's done the comedy guy, right? How often did we see him in segments of ODB? I think he's even one half of the Knockouts Tag Team Champions of ODB. Or as EY back in 2008, he'd fall over every time his pyro went off. And he did a serious thing as being part of a faction. He was the leader of World Elite in 2009. He was a member of Team Canada. He's done everything. He is the epitome of the person you'd want to have on your roster, because he can do every single kind of role. Every single kind of role. And initially, Eric Young and Sanity, they were great in NXT. They had great success. Held the NXT Tag Team Championships. I think they were even in the first War Games match in its revival in NXT. But once they got to that main roster, once they made that main roster appearance, that was it. They made a couple of appearances as a stable, but that was it, and were broken up without really doing anything. And Eric Young says about that as well. He says, quote, the NXT part went great. I was treated well. Hunter and me worked very closely on the development of Sanity and the group. I really felt like I had a say in what went on. Obviously not the final say, but was listened to. At the time, Sanity was one of the top acts in the whole company. I could be put on anywhere on the card and be utilised in a good way. Then we transitioned to the main roster, and I mean, you and everyone knows how that went. It did not go well. Sometimes you fall out of favour, and it's nothing you did or didn't do. I never changed who I was. I'm not going to. That's not who I am. I'm not a political person. Never have been. And he goes on to basically say what everyone's heard over the years. It's a disaster how it's organised. And he said, quote, it's hard to love wrestling in that kind of environment. And that speaks volumes, really, doesn't it? Because how many times have we heard that with people that have left WWE now? How often? CM Punk said it, Jon Moxley said it, now Eric Young said it. And I sympathise, I really sympathise, because can you imagine how heartbreaking it is if your biggest dream since you were a kid, you become a professional wrestler. It's your dream to be a professional wrestler, but you've grown up watching Steve Austin, The Rock, Hulk Hogan, whoever, right, on top. And WWE go, one day I'm going to be on a WrestleMania. One day I'm going to be like Hulk Hogan. One day I'm going to be like The Rock or Steve Austin. I'm going to hold the WWE Championship. I'm going to be in WWE. That was my dream one day. And then you get there and you just see this bureaucratic, stale, just sterile, lack of creativity environment that is meant to be professional wrestling, and you'd be like, what is this? This isn't the WWE that I dreamt of. This isn't the dream that I had growing up. It's disastrous. It's horrible. And you fall out of love with wrestling, and that's what he said. He said that I fell out of love with wrestling and I didn't want to do it anymore. And yet immediately, again, like the Jon Moxley parallel with AEW, he makes his return to Slammiversary at the weekend. At this point, he's 40 years old, so I wouldn't say he's still got quite a while to go in his career. I'd say about 10 years or so. Probably about 5-10 years left. But we're getting into the part of his career where he's still in his prime, but let's make money, or let's make hay while the sun shines, rather. So he appears at Slammiversary, Fatal 5-Way main event for the vacant Impact World Championship. He doesn't win. Of course, Eddie Edwards beat Eric Young, Ace Austin, Trey Miguel, and Rich Swann. But he's back in love with wrestling again, and you can see it. You can just see it in the way that he's acting at the moment. You can see it in the way that he's performing. You can see it in his promo Tuesday night on Impact Wrestling. You can see it in his angle of Rich Swann. He's excited. He's excited for the opportunity just to do something creatively fulfilling again. And it's exciting to watch that, because the best wrestlers, when they're having a good time and where they feel creatively fulfilled, that's when you get the best stuff as a fan to watch. And ultimately, I want to watch the best professional wrestling. I want the people that are performing the shows, and I want people that are wrestling on the shows, I want them to be happy. I want Eric Young to feel creatively fulfilled. I want Eric Young to be happy. I want Eric Young to be doing the best work that he thinks he can do. I don't want to see someone with the talent of Eric Young sitting on the sidelines and not even being able to appear on a 3-hour Raw, which nobody watches. Are you kidding me? And it's part of this problem where, like I said, WWE for a while has stockpiled talent for the longest time to prevent them working from anywhere else, to prevent them going from an AEW or to an Impact Wrestling. That's what they've done for a long, long time. And that's what they will... Well, they can't do it as much now because of the pandemic, and they've been caught out finally. And I think the secret's out when it comes to WWE now. We've heard these horror stories once again over the last few years. When it comes to now Moxley, Eric Young, CM Punk, whoever, we've heard these stories. And if I was someone on the independent scene, obviously now it's slightly different, but if in a couple of months' time, when these the world gets a little bit back to normal and people are starting to run shows again, if I can make decent money on the independent scene and WWE comes calling, I might be like, you know what, I'm gonna pass on that for a while, because I don't want to go somewhere where I'm just gonna sit on the sidelines and watch my career die. And then have to rebuild myself, or have to try and find myself once again once I'm eventually released, because WWE doesn't have anything for me, and they never had anything for me in the first place. So, if I was someone on the independent scene right now, I'd stay a million miles away from WWE. I'd look at Impact Wrestling, I'd look at the great work that's going on there and the buzz that they have, and I'd go, you know what, people are being used there. Why not go there? Or I'd look at AEW and say, maybe I'll try my chances there, or maybe there'll be some other independent shows and companies back up and running. Maybe we'll have Ring of Honor and NWA up and running by some point. But I'd look at other things, because it's just not worth your career dying. And I know some people might say, well, you should bet on yourself and give WWE a try, but it just sounds like the worst place to work. It really does. And maybe I'm coming across now as like a WWE basher, or I'm coming across as, oh, you're just taking the easy road of burying WWE, or saying you don't like WWE because that's cool. But the facts are there. The stories are there. And I'm not saying that, WWE is this horrific place. I'm sure a lot of people work there and are very, very happy working there and doing what they're doing. I'm sure those people are also on television every week. And I'm sure those people, do have something creatively to do. But when you're someone like Eric Young, you deserve better. You deserve better. I think that's the crucial element here. And hopefully now with Impact Wrestling, he will get better. As I mentioned, he's most likely going to have an Impact World Championship match in the future against Eddie Edwards. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to see Rich Swann return and have that angle. I think Eric Young's doing the best work he's done since NXT without a shadow of a doubt. So it's an exciting time right now for Eric Young and for Impact Wrestling. But of course, as always, and this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on Eric Young in Impact Wrestling, on a potential Eric Young versus Eddie Edwards feud in the future? When do you think it will happen? Do you think we'll see a World Championship match? What are your thoughts on Eric Young's comments about WWE? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and chat with you guys down there. I really enjoy interacting with you guys in the comment section. If you've enjoyed this video, please do give us a like. It really does help us out in terms of people's recommendation feeds. If you've enjoyed it so much you want to share it with a friend, please do that as well. But most importantly, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. We're over 500 subscribers, on the road to 600 subscribers, on the long road to 1,000 subscribers. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we'll be doing a lot more watch-alongs and live streams. We've recently done a couple of watch-alongs and live streams for Slammiversary and Extreme Rules. The long-term goal is to be able to do that for Raws, SmackDowns, Impact Wrestlings, AEW Dynamite, all of that good stuff. So it's just a lot easier once we get to 1,000 subscribers to do that. So the quicker we get there, we can do some really exciting stuff on the channel. If you have subscribed already and you're watching this, I really do appreciate it. It's humbling, everyone that has subscribed to the channel recently, and I'm so thankful for it. I really do appreciate it, and thankful that you're enjoying the content that we're putting out here. Likewise, you can follow us on all of our social media platforms. Our handles are on the screen right now too. It's at 365Wrestle on Twitter and at WrestleNews365 on Facebook and Instagram. So be sure to give us a follow or a like there if you wish. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. And I'll speak to you again very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.